Sports Talker Nation, welcome back once again to another team-by-team preview for the MLB season 2016. It's, as always, your host, the G-Man. Today we're going to talk about another member of the NL East in the Washington Nationals. Now, nothing makes me happier than having seen the Nationals just fall apart and shit the bed last year. I don't like their GM. Their GM actually thought they were going to compete with Philadelphia when Philadelphia was on a 7-year run of winning titles over and over again. That said, they're a damn good team. They were a damn good team. They had bad luck. Bryce Harper is an absolute animal. I love watching that kid play. I think we have a race for the division this year. I think that they're going to give the Mets more for their money than people seem to think. I think that their lineup has improved. They did make some changes. A little bit of health and a little bit of luck in that starting rotation, and you have a decent team. So without further ado, let's start off with the top of their lineup. They brought in Ben Revere from Philadelphia through Toronto, through many other places. And with all that said, I do think Ben Revere helps them quite a bit. You know exactly what he is. He's not going to hit for any power at all. He's going to hurt your team there. What he's going to do is play good defense in the outfield with a throwing arm like a 9-year-old girl. He cannot throw the ball at all. And that's okay. I think you live with that in center field. That's a big center field. More important that he gets back to the ball. Playing next to Harper, I think Harper handles everything in the gap so he can make the throws. Revere's going to steal you 40 bags. He's also going to hit 300. He always does. On-base percentage 325, which in today's Major League Baseball is actually not terrible. So I think that's where they're headed. I do think he's an improvement, an upgrade for them. Batting second, I see Anthony Rendon. Guy is always hurt. He had a huge breakout season not long ago. But if he's healthy, he's 20 home runs, 15 steals, 285 average. Good player, but he is hurt. Batting third, Bryce Harper, defending MVP with good reason. Not only do I think he's the MVP, I think he's the best player in baseball. People don't like his act a little bit, and he was a little young to act the way that he did. I got to tell you, I love him. I love his cockiness. I would offer him $35 million a year to come play for Philadelphia. I just love the way the kid plays. And I think he's kind of settled in and found his spot now. I think you can expect big things out of him moving forward, minus any injuries. And I think he's gotten a little smarter with how he plays, so he's not going to incur those injuries. Batting fourth, I guess you have Ryan Zimmerman. I don't love him as a cleanup hitter. I know he gets a lot of respect and a lot of love there because he's kind of a veteran guy. Had 1 year with 25 homers, 100 RBIs. He's hurt a lot. I think he's good for 20 and 80 if he plays a decent amount, but I don't think he is a superstar by any stretch of the imagination. Batting fifth, I guess you have Jason Worth or Daniel Murphy. Worth has been hurt a ton. He hasn't earned hardly any of that $126 million contract he got with the Nationals, and he was a bit surly last year. He kind of led to one of the reasons why Matt Williams got fired. So I'm not sure I see him as a long-term excellent fit there. I think Michael Taylor may wind up playing quite a bit of left field. But until then, let's say Worth batting fifth, Murphy batting sixth. In the playoffs, that guy was unbelievable. He was Babe Ruth. He'd never hit more than about 14 home runs in a regular season. But to see him in the playoffs, he hit a home run every time he batted. Let's see if he can carry that over. I don't think so, especially in Washington. Big ballpark. I think he's going to go back to more of his double slashers using the whole field type hitter. That said, I think he's a very good hitter. I don't think he's a great fielder, but at second base, you don't need a great fielder. Batting seventh, I guess you have Wilson Ramos. Ramos is quite a conundrum. As a guy who drafts him every year in his fantasy league, he's even more of a conundrum. He's a good catcher. Pitchers seem to like throwing to him. He hits about 15 home runs. He only gets about 325 at-bats every year because he's hurt all the time. Last year, his batting average tumbled. The year before that, his batting average rose. So I'm not sure exactly what to make of that, but I do think he's a top half of the league type catcher. Batting eighth and playing shortstop, take your pick. You either have Trey Turner, the young kid coming up, who came up and played about 25 games last year, or you have Danny Espinosa, who is more of a veteran guy, has never proven the ability to play shortstop on a long-term basis. He's more of a second-base shortstop utility guy. But that said, whichever one of those doesn't start becomes that super utility guy on the bench to go with Michael Taylor as the backup outfielder. You have Espinosa as the backup infielder, I'll say. Not a great hitter, average fielder everywhere, but does have a lot of power and a lot of speed. And I'm going to throw Tyler Moore in the mix. No one knows who Tyler Moore is. Tyler Moore is a backup corner infielder and outfielder. I'll tell you that I think he could play. If given the opportunity, I think he could hit 15 to 18 home runs, driving 80 runs. He won't get that opportunity with Washington, but he's a decent bench bat, and he's learned to be a decent pinch hitter. Just like with the Mets, the ones I previously discussed, The strength of the Nationals is in their rotation. Let's start off with Max Scherzer. Got $30 million a year last year and was probably underpaid. A couple different no-hitters, including a perfect game. A couple other times where he gave up 1 or 2 hits. He was unbelievable. Strasburg as your number 2. 5 years ago, people would have said Steven Strasburg was the greatest pitcher in baseball, throwing 100 miles an hour. I don't know that I see that, and I don't think he's that guy anymore, but I do think he pitched in some bad luck last year, and he could get 250 strikeouts and 18 wins in the right year with a low 3s ERA. I put Gio Gonzalez as your number 3. Guy won 20 games a few years ago. He's not the same guy anymore, obviously. He'll pitch to a mid to high 3s ERA. He'll give up quite a few base runners because he walks a lot of guys, but in that ballpark, it's less impactful. So I think he has a chance to be helpful. Tyler Roark is a guy who's kind of been jerked around from the bullpen to the rotation to the minors the last few years. Now that they've moved on from the Jordan Zimmermans of the world, he has a chance to start every 5th day. I think he'll do okay. Last, they have Joe Ross, young kid who pitched very well last year. The proof's in the pudding with that, though. Let's see what a full season does. One of my least favorite players in baseball and kind of anchors their bullpen. And I got to say, for the life of me, I don't have any idea why the Nationals did this. They've moved out of Drew Storen, who is having an absolutely fabulous year, and moved in John Papelbon. Aside from the fact that John Papelbon lost about 5 miles an hour off his fastball, he was still very effective. That said, he is the biggest asshole in baseball. Everyone in Philadelphia hated him, and not the fans. His teammates hated him except for the bullpen guys. He comes to the Nationals, and Bryce Harper is having a season for the ages, and he thinks he's going to call Bryce Harper out and choke him out in the dugout. This guy is just a cancer that needs to be excised. So what do? They trade Drew Storen after demoting him and making him useless last year. They trade him and put Papelbon in as the full-time closer. I don't understand it. As I said, he is still an effective closer. I still think he'll be able to get the job done, but boy, he is bad for team chemistry. All that leads me to say I think the Nationals are one of the front runners for the wild card position. With a little bit of luck, they could actually overtake the Mets because I think they have the talent in that rotation. But for now, let's call them an 87-win team fighting for that last wild card. Can't wait to talk to you again next time as we talk about the Miami, not Florida Marlins. And this is the G-Man, your host, and I am out.